What's up and welcome back. I'm Josh Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Daryl Dixon, Season 2, Episode 1. We're back for a second season. This is on AMC Plus without audio description because God hates me. Yeah, I'm a blind film critic today. I've got purple hat on backwards, black sunglasses, and a Gremlin shirt. So, yep, Daryl Dixon is back for all of us fans. And as we have learned recently, the show does have audio description. It's just nobody is using it because when the show ended up as, AMC Plus took a block of their shows and licensed them to Netflix for a period of time, one of them being Daryl Dixon. And it had audio description. And yes, I did actually rewatch, it's only like 6 episodes. I rewatched the entire first season with audio description so I could fill in the gaps. If they did that again, yes, I would rewatch Daryl Dixon again. To be fair, I would rewatch the main series with audio description if they added it. And I think I'd rewatch Dead City. I would not rewatch Fear the Walking Dead, a series I didn't finish. I admittedly reached a point with that series where I just couldn't anymore. I lost faith. I lost interest. I think when they started playing around with nukes was when I quit. I was like, okay, well, this is bridge too far. Not enough original. They kept trying to have crossover characters from the other franchise. And I was like, you need more. If you're going to start playing around with nukes, this needs to have like half the cast from The Walking Dead needs to come over here. We need Rick. So yeah, this doesn't have audio description, but it does have more Carol. And it's funny because on AMC Plus you have the after stuff where you can hear them talk about the making of the episode. And Melissa McBride talks about this like it was always planned this way. And I was like, didn't you drop the show? Wait a minute. So it was originally announced. Did they make her do this and catch all that flack on the internet? Like creatively? Because she makes it sound that way. She's like, yeah, it's funny. I couldn't tell anybody. I had to live in a hotel for months. And I was like, what? Are you? Because she appears in the first season. So I guess that was their way of saying that they wanted that as a surprise. So, but I felt like I heard a story that she was going to come back anyway, that she changed her mind. So I don't know how they're really addressing this. I think it would just be easier for Melissa to be like, yeah, originally I wanted a break, and then I had a little bit of a break, and I was like, I don't want this. And then I was like, can I get back in? And they were like, sure. So I feel like that story makes sense, and it's totally relatable, because sometimes you're like, I don't know if I want to retire. I would rather work. Gives me something to do. So I feel like people out there would be like, I get that. And I feel you, Melissa. So this season is officially called The Book of Carol, and we get far more Carol scenes. Although Daryl is not out. Daryl is still, he's over in France with with new Jesus. I don't know, what is this kid's name? I forgot. The kid that they think is a prophet and is gonna change the whole world. He's they're starting a religion around this kid. So they still exist, and there's this little faction, and the woman who was the villain from season 1 is still looking for Daryl, still trying to hunt him down. Yeah, so you get some Flash, but at the same time, it's mostly Carol, who is trying to find Daryl. She's trying to get to Daryl. So she's out on the road. Last time she ran into somebody who had his bike, and then we pick up from there. And so she goes to this place, and she's like, does anybody know the guy who had this bike? And these people are like, oh yeah, I remember. Who had the bike before? Whatever that dude's name was. Oh, what was his name? Dixon. Yeah, Dixon, that was his name. So she gets more information about where Daryl went. And eventually she heads off further down the road. She sees a plane I can hear the plane. This is what I picked up without audio description, by the way. I think she attacked somebody in the bar too. I don't know. That was nebulous. Or they attacked her or something. I don't know. She disarmed somebody. I have no idea. Again, no audio description, blind film critic. This recap is going to be weird. This really goes to show you how accessibility matters. So she drives down the road and I think intentionally gets into a car accident, which seems unnecessary considering how the plot goes, but maybe she just really wanted to like play into her need for help. So she goes up to this dude's house who is attached to this plane, and she's like, I was wounded, I got in a car accident, I hit a walker, and it's not like she hit more than a walker. But I don't know what she hit, but she definitely didn't hit just one walker. I feel like you can hit a walker and keep going. But yeah, she's a little banged up and just is asking for a little bit of help, medical treatment or whatever, and she'll be on her way. And so this guy, who seems aggressive at first, aggro guy, and he backs off and lets her in, and he's like, all right, I'll patch you up and send you on your way. And he's got a pretty fortified little place himself out in the middle of nowhere. And all of this, I'm like, dude, we're like 10 years into the apocalypse. You always just kind of wonder like how things are happening. I love the part where they're in the bar too, and they're like, I'm sure you've got better things to do today. I was like, I don't know, what, it's the zombie apocalypse. Or have people like returned to like regular jobs, like a 9-to-5 lifestyle? Like they hit like an alarm clock and they're like, well, there's walkers out there somewhere, but I've still got my job to do, you know? Like what is life? Anyway, so this guy he's in the same position. Like he does things, like he has like a daily routine, and she's just like, I don't want to disrupt things. And he's like, I've got stuff, whatever. She has a flashback to the barn where, because he has a barn, and he's like, yeah, you can stay in the barn. And of course, she flashes back to season 2 with her daughter dying. I picked up on that. That was a pretty easy callback with Carol. When you're like, barn, Carol probably doesn't like barns at this point. So, yeah, a traumatic moment for her, which she then parlays into, there's this whole other thing where the main guy, and there's a zombie kid, I think it's a zombie kid. At first we don't know. It sounded like actually like way more zombies than that, but there was like a zombie kid, and he goes out there and talks to it, I guess, but then she messes everything up, and she's like, let me clean it up. I think she killed the zombie kid, which was his kid, which, was, and he's felt responsible for it ever since. So I guess he goes out there and talks to the zombie kid or something. I don't know. Again, lack of audio description, blind film critic. This is the best that I'm doing. Carol cleans it up. They talk. She hears his story, and then she tells him about her story, which is mostly true until she says that her husband took her daughter to France, and that's why she's trying to find her daughter. And I'm like, no, it's not what happened. Also not where your husband is. He'd been dead for a long time. He was a season 1 death. Your daughter was a season 2 death. So, yeah, her daughter's not in France. So, and he's like, oh, I see. You just wanted me for my plane. And she's like, yeah, basically, I mean, if there was any way that you could, wouldn't you go over there? I was like, man, this guy's gonna be pissed when he realizes he flew across to France for this grown-ass man. It's like, Billy, that doesn't look like Sophia. Carol walks up to him, Sophia, you've changed so much. I'm like, my, how time has passed. But yeah, so they're flying by the end of the episode, and I guess they're gonna fly this little plane. No, he's trying to do it in a smart way where he flies up to Greenland and then over to Europe, so he's trying to not just like do like the longest Atlantic flight possible. He's trying to like think about flying up the coast, and but he does lose some of his gas, like I think in an explosion towards the end of the episode. I don't know. But anyway, I'm excited this is back. I'm excited Melissa's here. I wish it had audio description. I wish AMC Plus cared enough to use the audio description it creates for its projects. There are a bunch of Shudder titles and IFC titles that have audio description. There's licensed content they get that has audio description, that I know has audio description. And then there are apparently shows that they make that have audio description. I mean, they could be like a juggernaut in audio description if they just took 5 minutes of their life to sit down and be like, wait a minute, blind people exist? Shit, I didn't know that. I guess we should probably do something about that. I guess, I mean, they know, obviously, otherwise why would they create audio description for theatrical releases of things like Late Night with the Devil and Oddity and In a Violent Nature? And then just when those things come to the streaming platform, they just don't use it. It's very weird. Yeah, I'm excited for Daryl Dixon, but I can't grade it. So my grade is unwatchable because it's a bitch to try to get through with zombies and just growling noises, and you're like, who just died? I don't know. Did that person die? I have no idea. Are they turning? I have no idea if they turned. No. I mean, just all of the questions. Like, I had no idea what happened with her. She was just like, she was struggling with walkers. And then later on, he's like, oh, my son. And I was like, there was a kid in there? Like, it sounded like there were more than one zombie, by the way. But there was... So, like, yeah, I get lost. My grade pretty consistently for Daryl Dixon episodes is unwatchable. But as a Walking Dead fan, I'm going to keep reviewing it anyway. I was a Walking Dead fan before I lost my vision, and I'm still a Walking Dead fan. But this is the life that I lead now, where I tell people that it's unwatchable because AMC is not a fan of providing me with accessibility that I need. I guess they hate blind people. I don't know. It just, whatever. But they did their inclusivity with Walking Dead, and inclusively bringing in deaf and hard of hearing actors was that they're like, we did our work for the disabled community. We don't need to do any more than that. Okay. Thank you for your bravery. I guess that's the message that we're getting. Anyway, isn't it weird that I can honestly say I haven't actually been able to appreciate Lauren Ridloff's performance as Connie ever, because I lost my vision before she appeared as a character on the show, and her character doesn't speak, and that's bonkers to me. Every time I think about that, I'm like, I know she's on the show, I know who Connie is conceptually, but how? Like, how do I even know who she is at this point? Because characters keep mentioning her, because friends talk about her, because I read about her in recaps and podcasts and stuff like that. Like, it's all this like really incidental knowledge that I pick up along the way. Anyway, that's it. I'll be back next week with Daryl Dixon, season 2, episode 2, The Book of Carol. Like the Book of Boba Fett, but hopefully better. Until then, see you guys on the other side.